What's going on, and welcome back to another Pelican case setup video. And in this video we'll be going over the Pelican 1560 case as a small repair and maintenance kit. Now when it comes down to it, I've worked with a lot of different guns over the years, both foreign and domestic systems, from pistols to submachine guns, carbines, rifles, precision rifles, sniper rifles, light machine guns, heavy machine guns, and a lot of that. So there's been a lot of different weapon systems that have specific tools that you need for them, and just over the years you collect tools and all of that, and I wanted to isolate and put everything together so that way I had a small kit to be able to work on every system that I've had to work with in the past and be able to travel with that wherever I go and be able to fix almost any system and create a solution to any problem right there at the range if need be, or be able to take it back and work on it that night after some training and be able to fix it and then get it back into action. So with that, I put together a box. I actually used the 1600 case before this. It was just a little bit too big. It was sometimes hard to carry around, so I wanted to isolate it and get something a little bit smaller, condense some of the tools that I wasn't using anymore, and I was able to fit everything into this 1560 case and actually get it way more organized than I had before. I used to have a foam liner here in the main compartment. I had a different type of lid organizer previously, and it just wasn't working out. It didn't offer everything that I needed to do. So when I made that downsize, I was able to find everything that I needed to be able to isolate everything that I wanted to. So with that, I'll start with the lid organizer, and then I'll move my way down into the main compartment so that way you can see everything that's going on. With this, I went with an Amazon lid organizer instead of the Pelican case or SoTech or even the Grayman Tactical lid organizers. I wanted something that I could see into every single one of these pockets and quickly grab whatever I needed, whether it came to weapons maintenance or repairs. And then I was able to organize everything down here in the main compartment with smaller bags and isolate parts and components and things that I need in those bags based off of specific needs and uses. So there are plenty of other options. Pelican case has plenty of other organizers down here for the main compartment. An additional reason why I went with the bags instead of any one of the organizers is because with some of those organizers, they don't zip up, they don't close, it's just a divider. And with a lot of the parts, components, and tools that I have in here, the last thing that I would want is parts and components and everything jumping around from little organized section to the next, and everything's just a mess. So I wanted to keep things nice and contained when it came down to it. So with that, when it comes to the lid organizer, I got it off Amazon. I'll throw the link in the description. I don't remember who specifically makes it, but I really do like it for this use and setup because, like I said, you can see into every single one of these compartments and quickly grab whatever you need. Or if somebody needs something, I can say, hey, just go grab it. It's in one of these clear containers, and that way it makes it really easy for other people that aren't familiar with this box and how I have it set up find what they need. So, and then when it comes to all the bags in here at the bottom, I can tell them, hey, it's this small bag or this large bag for the parts and tools and stuff that they need. So when it comes down to it, I have Loctite and some accessory stuff up here in this top pocket. So anything that needs Loctite, a little bit goes a long way. Don't use a lot. I know a guy who put a ton of Loctite on some screws previously, and I actually had to use a heat gun for just blue Loctite to be able to loosen everything up to be able to take it apart. So if you're going to use Loctite, a little bit goes a long way, but I always have that stuff because it's always good to have for weapons maintenance, or I shouldn't say weapons maintenance, but maintaining the parts and accessories and components that you can have on your gun. And then I have some cleaning patches and all of that in these two bottom ones with some Q-tips, as well as a couple of acid brushes to get in those tight spaces on certain guns sometimes. And up here I have some lens brushes as well as a box cutter, just little stuff for just quick access. And then I have hair ties and cord locks, as well as a little cleaning tray inside of this. I need to get a magnetic tray. I don't have one or a small one for this thing right now, but I will be getting one in the future, so that way you don't lose those tiny parts and components and stuff when you're doing weapons maintenance, especially if you're outside doing weapons maintenance. And then these cord locks and hair ties are for cable control and management on your gun, as well as on your kit if you're keeping those cables and everything organized on your kit. And then down here is just a bunch of bore snakes and being able to clean out the bore and the barrel and all that. So this main compartment, I just have a Real Avid Armorer's wrench. They make an awesome product when it comes down to it. I'm really satisfied with the tools that they have. I have quite a few of them, both in this box and at home. This thing is one of the best wrenches that I've used in a really long time, and it has a lot of different capabilities, especially with these hammerheads. So you can do a lot with one of these. I highly recommend them. Wheeler has some good stuff as well, a little bit less expensive, or not as expensive. They definitely have some good stuff when it comes down to it. But I think Real Avid is really cornering the market with really good tools. So I recommend both. They both have really good products. So with that, when it comes to the main compartment, because that's really everything for the lid. When it comes to the main compartment, there are a lot of different ways that you can set this up. You can get those organizers if you want them. I would recommend just working with little bags. It's way cheaper when it comes down to it. Some of those organizers are really expensive. These bags are probably only a couple of dollars each when it comes down to it. And just keep things nice and organized, and that way you're only spending maybe 30-40 bucks on bags rather than 200 bucks on an organizer. And then at the same time, everything's contained and in a tight space, or in that bag, and you're not having stuff get intermixed and trying to have to dig through everything to find what you need. So with that, I got some more cleaning pads. Baby wipes, I always have baby wipes. It's a trick that I learned downrange in Afghanistan. Having baby wipes is a really good way and a fast way to pull all the carbon right off of your bolt and your receiver, as well as like the slide on your pistol and in the pistol grip. Cleans it off really, really quick. You oil it, throw it back together, and you're good to go. Quick trick, or I guess a quick tip when it comes down to it. It just made things really easy downrange. With all the parts and components and everything, and how many accessories you can buy nowadays, and they usually come with their Allen keys, I just throw all those Allen keys in a bag, so that way if one of the tools I have with Allen keys doesn't have the right size, I can jump into that bag and try and find the right one. So I usually have what I need inside of that bag. With Russian systems, sometimes you gotta hammer that system to get it to work. So it's just one of those things, man. So anyways, got some gloves for weapons maintenance. Zip ties, I know a lot of guys that like to zip tie their pressure switches and stuff to their guns. It's one way of doing it if you don't want to go buy the retainers or holders and stuff for all that for the pressure switches, or you don't want to go buy something that's more expensive. That's a quick way of being able to set up your gun with the zip ties, and it's just a quick off, and that way you don't have adhesive and stuff from like Velcro and all that sticking on your rail and whatnot. So when it comes to all these bags and organizers, I have a small admin pouch with pens, pencils, papers, Sharpies, all of that, to be able to take notes on weapons if they're having issues for maintenance, and then that way I can get those guns maintenance as needed, as well as range stuff and being able to mark on targets and all of that. And then I have all of these little bags for different purposes. So this brown bag is going to be for weapons cleaning cloths, t-shirts, all that. Nothing crazy. I think this thing only cost me like 3, 4, maybe 5 bucks. I pretty much got most of these, actually I got all of these bags from the hygiene section at a military PX, and it was a really quick, easy fix to being able to organize everything. I actually have the same setup for all of my camera equipment. GoPro stuff, podcast stuff, all of that. I have the exact same setup that you see here in another 1560 case that has all my electronics and everything. The system works really well, and actually I have the same organizer on the lid for it. It works really, really well. It makes finding things really easy. So anyways, this is all just t-shirts in that brown bag. This little green bag is oils and lubricants. And I put all my oils and lubricants in little bags, so that way if they leak, they're not getting all over everything. But got some WD-40 and then CLP and some other brands of oils and all that. A couple of brushes and some small little odds and ends there. Weapons maintenance. This guy is going to be specific tools for different weapon systems, from machine guns to submachine guns and carbines and rifles and all that. So there's a ton of different stuff inside of this bag to be able to deal with all those different weapon systems, so that way I can address all these specific needs a specific gun may have. From there, what I have left, I have a roll pin kit from Wheeler. This is actually probably one of the cheaper and easier to use. I shouldn't say easier to use, but it has everything you need as far as roll pins go for both types of roll pins, or the setters and pushers or whatever. I don't remember what they're called, but you have all of the roll pins that you need, or all the tools for roll pins, and getting those put in place so that way you're not damaging the roll pins when you're taking them both in and out of the weapon system. So I'd highly recommend jumping on one of these. Real cheap, real inexpensive, but they do a really good job, and I haven't had a single issue with them ever since I bought that kit. So, and I actually have two. I have that kit, and then I have another kit at home on my workbench. This is going to be a knife sharpener for your knives and all that. This thing is actually really nice. It's worked really well over the years. I don't use it very often, but when I do need it, it has everything that I need for sharpening knives. I've got a couple of stones in my 1660 case, but that works really good for specific stuff. I've got some more cleaning rods for your heavier weapon systems. And then I also have, this thing's actually really cool. This is a sight push tool from RST, the rear sight tool. This thing is an awesome, just simple, inexpensive system. It's a universal sight push tool. You assemble it, put it all together, and you can push the sights on pretty much any pistol that you need. It comes with a couple little adapters for different sights, whether it has an angled or a flat side. You can adjust those sights pretty easily and not damage the weapon system or the sights. So I would highly recommend it. It's a really nice tool to have. It only costs about $100, and then you can buy extra parts and components. I would recommend buying extra parts and components just because if you're not paying attention and you're trying to adjust a sight, you can actually damage these little tab things right here. So I would highly recommend looking at buying extra parts and components for those. And then I also have a soldering iron for weapons modding as well as stippling. I mean, I don't stipple work guns, but I have stippled grips for other weapon systems that I own. So I like having that just in case, as well as for texturing rail panels if you're throwing rail panels on like an M-lock or a key mod system. I've got another weapons or M4 rifle wrench. And then in here I have a couple specific tools, brushes and tool kits and all that. I've got bench blocks, cleaning rods in there, and just weapons maintenance stuff primarily in this bag. And then vice blocks as well. I have a Infinity vice block. It's kind of a knockoff version of the Brownells vice that they sell, and it does a really good job just for travel. It's cheap, it's inexpensive, it only costs about $100, and for something that you're gonna beat up, travel around with, it does a phenomenal job. So I would highly recommend that. I don't have it, I can't fit it in this box. I actually have a small little side box for that. And then in this guy I have just different wrench and screwdriver sets. I've got a hammer, or a bigger hammer for some of your bigger Russian weapon systems that you gotta beat on to get to work sometimes. The cord or the dishka being one of them. Anyways, so different weapon or different wrenches and screwdrivers and all of that in this guy, so that way you have the ability to work on different guns. And then that way, if I have 3 different ones in here, so that way if other guys need them, or a bunch of guys need all of them at the same time, people aren't fighting and waiting for each other. So that way it just makes working with the system's a lot easier. And then I have a small little kit for your real small items. So I use a lot of different companies, a lot of different tools. I don't really kind of stick with one company. Sometimes one company will have a few extra things in their kit that another company doesn't have, and so on. So it's nice to have multiple sets, just so that way you're addressing all the needs. And then if anything breaks, you have a replacement right there. So anyways, and then there is one extra pocket on the side here, and then on this side I do have additional multi-tool, some punches, wrenches, and then Allen key sets, 4 different Allen keys and all that. So that's pretty much it when it comes down to this entire kit box setup for small arms weapons repair and maintenance. I would highly recommend it. It makes working on guns really easy. And then if you like to keep a nice small profile or live like minimalistic, it's really nice to have. I've been condensing everything down, getting rid of a lot of stuff that I no longer need and stuff, just because I like having only a handful of things. I like having really nice stuff, but at the same time having a less is just easier to move around and travel and all that. So anyways, with that, if you have any questions, please feel free, leave a comment, ask any questions that you have. If there's anything that you want to know specific in this kit, I can put a whole list together for everything that I have in this kit. I'll put it on the website in the downloadable content in a PDF file. That way you guys can check that out and see everything that I have in this kit, and then that way you can determine what you want to grab and buy and purchase off the market if there's anything specific that you want to buy and purchase. So with that, like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free, leave a comment. I'll help you out and answer any questions that you have. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.